Hello, I'm Wendy Guimau, and I am talking to you today about the Journeymans Toolbox. This goes along with Sunbeams 3 and Moonbeams 2 in the Music for Young Children program. You can also use them as a private teacher, and it would correspond with RCM Prep B requirements. So it's the second last toolbox in our progression of four. So there's 4 elements included in this toolbox, and today I'm just going to give you a few details about how to use them, how to teach them, and how to organize them. So I prepared a document with all the weeks, 34 weeks in the year in this, and what to present each week. So this goes at the front of my lesson plan binder. The first column is the lesson, then the next column is what I'm supposed to be teaching in that block of 3 or 4 weeks. The next column is what I'm supposed to give that week, so be very specific. For example, lesson 7, give rock and roll card. And the last column is stickers. So when I've completed a set of keys, then they all get stickered that week. And so that's down that column. So this could go, if you'd like to start with this, it's certainly changeable. If you feel like you'd like to do something in a different order, absolutely great. And this will probably be changed after we try it for a year as well. But this is how I'm going to start, and you can access that online through NYC. Okay, so we're going to start with the Scales and Skills sticker card. This one. You can see it's all mixed up. It certainly doesn't look like a very interesting picture now, but when they accomplish all these tasks, it will make a beautiful picture. And the beautiful thing about this, as far as teachers are concerned, is that we can give this entire thing to them at the beginning of the year, because the stickers are attached. They're on the back, they're sticky, so the kids just peel them off and put them on the front. We don't have to cut, we don't have to store, we don't have to go find the one that we need each week. It's just all there, it's in the students' hands. So we give them out at the beginning of the year. I have a binder for my students, and I present them each with this binder with a nice cover at the beginning of their Technic Toolbox career, and then these get stored in there in page protectors. When you sticker the back, it will make a frame around the outside and then continue inside to finish. I've tried different orders, and I've found that the kids are most excited by the frame idea because they get to see them connect and gradually grow. I've done it random all over, and so I'm trying it this way, and I have felt that this is the best way we'll see at the end of the year. But the first top row is C major, scales, triads, chords in the scales, cadence in Journeymans, and contrary motion. That's the only contrary motion scale, so all the other keys just have scales, triads, cadence, and scales with chords. Okay, it's really amazing for them to be able to show this to a future teacher and say that this is what we learned in Music for Young Children. This is what I learned in Music for Young Children. C major, A minor, G major, E minor, D major, B minor, F major, D minor, and the only thing about A is the pentascale because it's in the Prep B RCM requirements if you're preparing them for that, but even if you aren't, it's just like D, right? As you know, it's the same position. And the pentascales are followed by a 1 chord. 5 notes up, 5 notes. It's not a pentatonic scale, it's a just stepping up so high, back down, followed by a triad. Okay, and then the last 2 squares are the metronome speeds that are expected at this level. So, gradually, through the year, that picture becomes evident there, and it's pretty exciting for them. The next card I'll show you is the triad fingering card, or chart. In the previous tool box, we had the triad tutor, which helps them find the notes in the triad, right? Hopefully that lines up for you, and I'll show that in another video. So at the end of the year, they understand inverting triads. This year we are being really mindful that they have the correct fingering, and that's what this is about. The blue dots are all finger 1 and finger 5. They don't have to think. But the empty dots are either finger 2 or finger 3. And I've just printed numbers on Staples, or 3/4 inch stickers from Staples, and stuck them in there. The thirds are yellow and the seconds are red, and they can see that there's only 2 reds, and those are the ones that they really have to focus on. If you want to just have them draw the numbers in there, that's great. Maybe just put a sticker on the 2 only, because that's the real one that we're concerned about. Several years ago at an international conference in Ontario, there was a presenter who suggested we use words. I love the idea, and I don't think it matters what the words are, but as long as the second word is 2 when the 2 plays. So for example, the 2 girls bought clothes to share. That's one example. So every time they get to the word 2, they play finger number 2. And girls in the right hand and boys in the left hand, Bill, he's a boy, Bill went to, there it is, town to buy shoes, whatever. So that's a good reinforcement of the finger numbers, but really be on the lookout for correct fingering at this level, and they can use this for all the different keys, right? If they have any trouble, you can always write something on the page protector in dry erase marker and it will come off. Or if it's messy, then you just turn it over in the page protector and you've got a clear side over here. So by the end of the year, I think they can get through 1 year for sure with one page protector and all the keys. They probably don't need this the whole year. First couple keys and they get the idea that it's all the same. So now we'll talk about the cadence. So in Some Beams 3 and Moonbeams 2, we teach the cadence that I think it's a good idea to play that cadence at the beginning of your classes at least 1 year ahead. I do it just in all the levels instead of just 5/1, so they have that sound in their ear. That's a pretty advanced cadence for an 8-year-old, 9-year-old. So the ear helping is a good idea. They understand the hugging chord, right, or the 5/7 chord on their tin sheets that we've been teaching for a couple years now. And all we have to do is show them that they can take the B off the bottom and they put it on the top, and then already they've got to the upside down hugging chord. And the reason that we do use the upside down hugging chord is just for convenience on the piano, because if we went from 1 all the way up to 4, all the way down to the hugging chord as they know it, followed by 1, it's a lot of moving and it's kind of tricky to find all those notes. So we arrange the order of the notes to make it easier for us to play. Sorry, 5/7 and then 1. So it starts with the first inversion, 1 chord. So we start of course in C major. I'll just show you this first of all. This is the I guess you can't see that because I have black on. Okay, so this hopefully looks right. And the dots are 1, 4, 5, 1, and figure out in C major, 1 is C, 4, C, D, E is F, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 is G, and then back to C. So that's the left hand. 1, 4, 5, 1. Now we need to put the chord above it. So we start with, again, just for convenience, oops, better get this the right way, the first inversion 1 chord, right? So first inversion 1 chord, in this case it's C. So first inversion C chord, and then we go to the root position of F chord. So first inversion C chord, root position F chord, and then we'll say upside down, if you want to say hugging chord, or G7 chord, whatever. And then first inversion C chord. The beautiful thing about this is that this also comes with a staff that you can use to show the notes. You can see that. So first inversion, if you're in C major, C chord, root position, F chord, upside down, G7 chord, first inversion, C chord. First week, just ask them to do these two chords. So first inversion followed by root position. That's all they have to do. Almost always they want to do the whole thing, but that's all you're going to ask them to do. The next week, you'll maybe discuss that in those two chords, the C stays the same. Well, in the next two chords, the F stays, the thumb stays in the same position. So from here to here. And for the last two chords, the G stays in the same position. The second finger stays in the same position. Before you know it, they're playing all four. So this staff, we didn't put it on because when you get to D major, let's see, I can't see through this, you can just move it up, or D minor, or whatever, or E, you can just move it up. And a paper clip will hold that onto the key, whatever key you're in. A, they do A minor right away second, so they'll just move it down. Put a paper clip. If they forget to raise the seventh, the leading note, you're going to store this in a page protector, right, for them. Paper clip it on into the right key, and write on the page protector. Write that sharp, that leading note that they may be forgetting. Write it right on the page protector. Oh, what does that say? Did I show you that all backwards? Sorry, I did. Sorry about that. I just realized that it's not the right way around. There. Oops. It looks backwards in the camera, so you got that all backwards. Oh well, I hope that you get the idea. So first inversion 1 chord, root position 4 chord, upside down, hugging chord, first inversion 1 chord in whatever key you're at. So that is really, really useful. I used this last year. They used this for a couple keys, 3 or 4 keys at the beginning of the year, and then they didn't need it anymore. It goes mostly by just feel, right? They know how the fingers change around by the end. And I ask one child every week to start the class for us instead of me doing it. And they're very proud. They know it. It's not hard for them. But it's baby steps, and again, just 1 chord at a time. Asking them to practice at home, and usually, most often, they go ahead and do more than they need to. Certainly the left hand is easy. The first week they can do that. So I hope that made sense, because I think that was all backwards at the beginning. But there it is. You'll have it. Okay. Next, I'll talk about the chord cards. The tools. Call them tools. This is the how to play the piano stuff, right? Not just scales and triads. So, we're starting to expect them to have a little bit of independence between their two hands. They don't have to do exactly the same thing in both hands. So right away we're going to start with a contrary motion scale, which is easy for them now, with one hand legato and one hand staccato. The trick is super slow, and usually it takes 1 week and they've got it. The first try is hard, but honestly they learn it really, really quickly. So contrary motion scale, the fingering is the same. I would say don't start on the same C, start on a different C, and just go outwards with one hand and then try the other hand, and say if they're really, really clever, they could try going out one way and come back in another way. So it gives them a bit of a challenge. So not too tricky. And then I think I mentioned at the end of the 4 or 5 weeks that you've taught everything on C, then you get their sticker card, and they can sticker all the C stuff. So it's all done at once, and it doesn't take up a whole lot of time. It's not every lesson they're doing one little bit of it. It's all done together. Lesson 5, you're on my list. I'm stickering everything on C major. And then between lesson 5 and 8, I'm teaching A minor stuff. And lesson 7, it's the rock and roll card. So now on this level, I did not give them the cards. I kept the cards, and I just put on mine with a little blue dot of what week I'm going to present them. this is my version of it, and I have all the cards stuck in here, like the whole classfuls in each little spot. So then when I get to that lesson, the reason I didn't give them out is that there's only one set of cards this toolbox, so they'd see them all at the beginning of the year, and it's kind of nice to keep them a surprise and get them to learn them gradually through the year. So I kept, this is one that I did keep, and it's at the beginning of my lesson plan book, and I just give them out on when I get to the dot that says the lesson that I need to distribute it. So the rock and roll card then, the instructions are on the back of all of these. So it says allow wrist to twist slightly from side to side like turning a doorknob. And there's so many examples. I was just looking through the prep beads, you know, Funny Puppy? Oh, I forget how it ends. The little tail wag thing. Shoot. I'll go through some repertoire later. Oh, Playful Puppy it is. Here it is. That's it. That little wig-wag at the end. It's a perfect example of rock and roll. There's lots of examples in here. Maybe I'll just play a few things at the end. But rock and roll, that's what that's for. And we just don't want them to have a stiff wrist, right? I'm not talking huge flips, but just relaxed and able to move. Rock and roll. So the exercise would go 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 1, 4, 1, 4, just like a rocking chair. And then 5, 4, 5, 4, 5. Then the 5 is the pivot. And we're done. Then we go to G major, and during our teaching of G major for the scales and skills, we're teaching G major contrary motion. Again, with legato and staccato. You won't have to go so slowly this time. They're going to catch it a lot quicker. E minor, and then we introduce the what is called white note, one chord, roll-ups. Okay, so basically, again, it's to relax the wrist, to show not this way, but this way. That when they come out of the piano, their wrist needs to be relaxed. And it lifts up first, and it's sort of like you're rolling up out of the chord. Right? I think this is in the Prep A requirements this year. But for this level, it's mostly just to relax the wrist. And when they actually play triads later on, that's a good thing to remind them of, that their wrist comes up first and it's nice and relaxed. You can exaggerate it to teach, and then it's easier to cut it back later. So that's what that is, and it just goes up all the one chords up the white notes. Okay? Sticker E minor, then you have a pentascale, hands together, legato staccato. So a little more along the steps of hand independence. One hand is bouncy, one's legato, but it's similar motion. And the fingering is different, right? So it's a little bit harder. It's just a pentascale, up 5, back down, and with a triad and a chord, one chord, and you're done. And then you're teaching D major. Now we're around lesson 17. And 18 is light as a feather. So light as a feather, it seems so silly to not play the piano. That's all they do, is they just go light as a feather, light as a feather, and you put it on C, for example. If you had your hand in the C position, start on C, light as a feather, and then on D, and then on E, which is really tricky because your third finger is up ahead and your thumb's behind, light as a feather. Then you come back down to D, light as a feather, and then finish on C again. What for? Well, because our thumb does not work like the fingers. Our thumb is big and all this is hooked onto him and heavy, and he likes to thump, bump, and the wrist likes to fall, and we have to teach him, our thumbs, to play like a finger. He has to behave, and we have to measure how much weight we play with our thumb. And this is normally, because he likes to play so loud, we're asking him to play so quietly the key does not even move. So it's just a step into controlling the amount of weight or loudness of your thumb. And in this book, there's several examples of scales in the middle. Oh, here's one I just found, Aeolian Lullaby, for example. So if they're not careful, it's going to sound because that thumb is going to thud, right? So that's a real, and then, right? So just to sneak it under, make it melt in so all the sounds are the same, and the thumb sounds like a finger. And that's what that's for. There's lots of examples. I'll play through some more later. So that's the light as a feather. And the nice thing is, you never hear a wrong note. You can tell them, oh, guys, that sounded so good, I didn't hear one wrong note. They can play hands together, obviously, because they don't play anything. It's just this similar. Behind the third, behind the second, and behind the thumb. So their thumbs are actually moving. It's not their wrist moving. Crab walk scale right along the same line because we want them to be able to measure each note and play exactly the same loudness on every one. So crab walk just means 3 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 or 2 1 2 1 or 4 1 4 1. So the thumb has to match what the guy before him did. Right? So any key they're playing, they can play that scale. When they do, this is actually asking for D major. Start with finger 3. Oh, sorry, D major. 3 or 2 or whatever. So your thumb plays E, and then your thumb does not play the black keys. So because we're studying D major, that's why we're doing D here. And it's a little bit extra skill when there's black keys, because as you know, the black keys don't go down as far as the white keys. We can control that and we just make it work, but for kids, if it doesn't go down as far, it's likely going to sound a little bit louder, softer, and it's not going to be even. So that just makes it a little bit trickier. Then we stick our D major onto B minor. Lesson 23, pardon me, silent finger change. And so that's when they get to a note and say they land on their thumb on something and they have to continue on below it. So as they're holding it, they have to change their finger and then continue the slur. So it's the purpose of it. But for them, all we tell them is you play with 3, change to 1. Play with 3, change to 1. Play with 3, change to 1. Or 2. Or 4. Or whatever. They always want to try the hard ones. It's actually quite an easy one, but it's a useful skill, and they'll identify it later when they get to things in their pieces that they need to do that. Then, sticker B minor. Be careful with the finger 4 in the left hand. That's a little bit odd. They can't start with 5 because if they do, they'll land with their thumb on F sharp. They're not allowed to play any black keys with their thumb or their 5th finger. So. And then we go, the next one, pentascale hands together, ghosting one hand. So this is the very first step in balancing. Next year in the master's toolbox, it's huge about balance because they have to be able to play one hand louder than the other, but this is the first step. And so ghosting just means that you touch the tops of the keys, you don't move them, you don't play them. Have to control that at the same time as one hand plays loud, well, plays, the other hand just touches the tops of the keys. Alright, so it's really controlling and managing the amount of weight and pressure in each hand. And of course you have to do the other way as well. So. And then sticker F major, teach D minor, sticker D minor, and the only thing again, A major is just a pentascale, just so they know it, but it's easy because they know D major. They learned D major a long time ago. So, and then at the end of the year, you will give the certificate, and now we have the certificates that we're just building on, adding stickers to each year. So, because this is the first year that we've had this sort of certificate, you're going to have to give them 3 stickers to cover basic, constructors, and journeymans. Even if you didn't do that, hopefully you've been following along in their student activity books to teach the scales and skills up to now. So even if you didn't use the actual toolboxes before now, you can still sticker all those other ones that are leading up to this. And then they'll see that one more year, they'll have the whole thing finished. So that's at the very end of the year. So I've showed you the triad fingering, I've showed you the cadence card, the scales and skills, stickers, and the tool cards. So the only other thing I wanted to do just real quick at the end, I just marked a few pieces. It's really nice to relate these things to music that they're playing, so they kind of get why they're doing this, and so will parents get why they're doing this and why it's important. So whenever you come across something, and there's almost every piece will have something that you can go back to, hopefully, right? Because it's playing the piano. So I just marked a couple pages in here. Oh, I missed one or two here. Just to show you real quick. The Rising Sun. Now, the trick is for me to remember why I marked them. Rising Sun on line 3. So it's the melody going from one hand to the other hand. So there's the crossing your hand over with the same fingering and matching and making sure that they're all even. 2 note slur at the beginning. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Starfish at Night. Again, this part. You shouldn't be able to tell where you cross your hands. Which hand is switching. It should sound like one hand. No thumbs there though. New Shoes. Oh, this is a good pre-balance one because your left hand has the melody at the beginning, but it doesn't play together with the right hand. The right hand's got to be quieter, which is much easier, as you know, when they're not together. Right? Whatever the notes are there. So left hand, forte, right hand, well not forte, but louder than the right hand. That's on New Shoes. And Aeolian Lullaby, I had that just for when the thumb goes under to play smoothly and all the same loudness. Honestly, there's something every song. The hand, when you have those staccatos side to side, sorry, da, 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 there's a bit of rock and roll going on there. Even the jumping jacks. Da, 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 bum, bum, da, da, right? Whatever. Oranges and no, I didn't have that marked. Calico Cat. Oh, stepping up so high. Back to our basic patterns. That's it. So this time your thumb lands on the strong beat, so you don't have to worry about him playing louder than he should. But when it comes in the left hand later, it should sound the same, but it ends on your thumb. So that's why you want to lift up out of the piano. 1, 2, and 1, 2. They can fall into the 5th finger and float off of the 1st finger there. So yeah, this is the new RCM Prep B book, and oh, Pop Goes the Weasel. So the beginning, da-dum. When you teach a 2-note slur, don't only teach loud, soft. Also teach the other way. Like today, today, to there, because sometimes you need the weight on the 2nd one. You need to push off of the 2nd one instead of floating off the 2nd one. And this is an example. There's the melody going from one hand to another. And the slur goes that way. So much in these. So there's a couple of things, and I also marked Sherlock Holmes. Why did I mark? Oh, this is a very cool one. Oh yes, so the left hand legato, the right hand staccato. It says those little X's, this is on page 24, at the bottom it says they're to be played so quietly that it is barely perceptible. And guess what? It's a thumb! So we barely play it. Here it is. There, it ends on the thumb. Da-dum, so nice and light. And then at the very end, let's see, ends with 2 2 thumbs and an accent. So very fun. Sherlock Holmes. Love it. What's this last one I marked? Playful Puppy. Oh, that was it. The rock and roll. Perfect. Really good. So there's all kinds. I mean, there's every piece has something that you can relate to from. I'll just do a couple of them here. This is the RCM. Pre-grade 1, if I can remember. Oh, Witch's Waltz is a lovely one, again, for balance. Because they don't play together. And it's just really light. Light, okay? In the right hand, so I think that's a really good one to teach, to include, because you can't include all of them, right? Music box. So it's got a 2-note slur in the left hand, while you're doing a stepping up so high, all slurred in the right hand. That 2 notes slur together. Down, up. And be careful that it's short, 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 short. You know how they want to go short, long, short, long. No, short, short. Short, short. So just one there. Three Wise Monkeys. Match your left hand to your right hand. So that was an old one. What is relays? Oh yeah, it's got the broken triad at the end. Let's see, the time signature is 6/8, so 1, 1. Your thumb is not coming on the beat; it's coming in between the beats. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Light thumb. That's a good one too, since they're playing broken triads. 'Twas in the moon. Oh yeah. So ask them to listen to you. Can you tell when I change hands? You shouldn't. You should not be able to. So, I mean, there's just some examples, and our Moonbeams 2 and Sunbeams 3 books are full of examples of all these. This is where all the tools came from originally, is from these books. So these skills and scales are what we include in this level, and it's just a really nice collection for kids to work towards achieving. They can see it, physically see it, building throughout the year, and I know that you're going to hear a difference in their playing and have a really good solid foundation prepared for next year in grade 1. So enjoy, have fun with it. Thanks, bye.